Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 7th Annual Big Bang Business Plan Competition. I'm Cassie Hilder, co-chair of this event, along with my classmates Kevin Chartrand and Grant Haydenack. We are very excited to be at this stage of the competition. The finalists presenting tonight have worked very hard to create and develop their business plans and elevator pitches they will be presenting to you. Tonight represents the culmination of months of research, planning, and strategy to take an idea from its infancy to a full salient business. For many of the competitors here this evening, Little Bang and Big Bang were the starting point and motivation they needed to bring their idea into a fundable plan. Most of the teams competing in the competition this year met at many Mixer events and business plan workshops organized by the Big Bang Business Plan Competition. The workshops provide valuable information for creating a business plan and provide a forum for MBAs, undergraduates, alumni, researchers, and industry experts to meet, network, and form teams. These workshops and the competition as a whole are made possible by the MBA students, faculty, and staff of the Graduate School of Management, the volunteer judges, and most importantly, the generous sponsors to Big Bang. And we would like to thank all of them for their contribution. We would also like to recognize the support provided by UC Davis Innovation Access and our partnership with the Little Bang competition, as well as our new alliance with the recently launched UC Davis Center for Entrepreneurship. The Big Bang Business Plan Competition is just one of the UC Davis Graduate School of Management's manifestations of its mottos, Ideas into Action. Some of these students take to heart and truly exemplify the entrepreneurial spirit. The Big Bang Competition and the Graduate School of Management work to recognize their achievement. At this point, I would like to introduce the Dean of the Graduate School of Management, Nicole Biggert.
Good evening and welcome. This is for me, one of the most exciting nights of the year. I just love Big Bang. I think I've been to every single one of them. This is absolutely exciting. I know American Idol was on last night, but this is better. Talent competition, but it's got money and ideas and with incredible possibilities that can come out of it. This is truly exciting certainly for the Graduate School of Management and the campus, but also for our region. It's a great gift that our students give to the region, and I'm always happy to be part of it. The Big Bang Business Plan Competition, it was launched by MBA students 7 years ago. It remains entirely run and self-supporting, run by students, and is self-supporting. And I have to tell you, as a dean, a self-supporting project is a very good thing. These students know how to run a business plan. It has expanded in lots of ways. One, there are more people here tonight than we've ever had at a Big Bang Finals. We had over 200 people RSVP to come. It's become something that people want to come and see and find out what's happening, what are the latest ideas out there. But it's expanding exponentially in the sense that it is infecting the whole campus and the whole region with the spirit of entrepreneurship. The idea that you can take ideas and put them together and build a business around them. And this is a great infection that we never want to be cured of. I want to thank the student leaders of the Big Bang, Grant Haydenack, Cassie Hilder, and Kevin Chartrand. They were the student co-chairs for this year's Big Bang. And to all of the students who, over the months, have put together the seminars, the mixers, and all of the different events that make up the Big Bang, bring people together, give them information, coach them, and encourage them to develop business plans that, even if they're not successful this time around, they have learned something, and you know that they're going to do something entrepreneurial in their lives. I want to thank the sponsors who are here, who support the competition through their work as judges, as coaches, as mentors, as people who get up and educate, and the people who underwrite the the hard-won prizes that come out, that make this competition something really, truly exciting to compete for. So a lot of people behind this event, and I want to thank all of you for doing what you've done. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of talent to pull something like this off. And in fact, it's a lot like starting a startup. It takes, pitching your ideas to sponsors. It takes coming up with organizing the right people to be in the right places at the right time and getting the money behind the program. And our students have done it yet again. I now want to make a special announcement, an introduction and announcement. Jim and Georgia Corbett, can you please come forward? Just, you would come up here. Jim and Georgia are friends of the campus and of the Graduate School of Management. Jim is the CEO of Spectrum Capital Corporation. He's been involved with the Graduate School of Management for many years. He served on the Dean's Advisory Council. Later, he was a special advisor and volunteer for the school. He served as a trustee for the UC Davis Foundation Board. Georgia has ties of a different sort to the campus. She is an alumnus. She holds a psych degree from UC Davis, and she now works with children at risk in the county of Sacramento. They have both had a lifelong involvement in entrepreneurial ventures and are dedicated to encouraging young entrepreneurs in the Sacramento area. And Jim and Georgia have established an endowment that provides an annual scholarship for a Graduate School of Management student who shows the motivation, the potential, and the passion for succeeding in the entrepreneurial world. And this is the first year of the award, and I'm very pleased to announce that the first Corbett Fellow is Jeff Jennings. Jeff, please come on up here. Jeff's going to be graduating next month. Let me tell you a little bit about Jeff. He's been a leader in many ways since coming to the Graduate School of Management. He's been co-president of Net Impact. He's helped create programs such as Green Bag Speakers. He has and the Board Fellows program. And under his leadership, UC Davis received the Best Small Chapter of the Year award at the national conference this year. Net Impact is a national 10,000-plus member association of MBAs and former MBAs who work to promote sustainable business principles and practice. He's a board member of the Associated Students of Management, vice president of online communications for Big Bang, a member of the Community Consulting Group. And in the last year, he has done a lot of entrepreneurial activities. He's placed first and second in 2 Little Bangs in the clean energy division. And one of these promising new ventures, High Merit Thermoelectrics, is developing technology to turn heat into electrical energy. And the startup won $10,000 in Clean Start's Power Up Business Plan competition. It has since incorporated, licensed the technology from UC Davis, and is seeking funding to anyone out there who cares to hear that. And this year, Jeff is on 2 teams in the Big Bang. Can't hold this guy down. Jeff's entrepreneurial energy and spirit clearly make him deserving of this special award. And it's my pleasure to present the first recipient of the James R. and Georgia K. Corbett Fellowship for Student Entrepreneurs, Jeff Jennings. Congratulations, Jeff. And to Jim and Georgia, I want to extend my personal thanks on behalf of the entire Graduate School of Management for your generosity in making this gift and for setting an exceptional example of philanthropy for our community. And I want to assure you that James R. and Georgia K. Corbett Fellowship is going to have a positive impact on our community of student entrepreneurs this year and for many years to come. And I want to thank you so much for what you do. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you.
Several of our finalists here tonight began their journey in the Little Bang competition. As winners in the Little Bang competition, they were promoted through the executive summary round of Big Bang and entered into the semifinal round of, entered into the semifinal round of Big Bang. Our partnership with UC Davis Innovation Access and the Little Bang competition has been instrumental to the development of many of the plans presented here tonight. Meg Arnold is the director of UC Davis Innovation Access and has been a great resource to the Big Bang competition. I'd like to present Meg to speak to you.
Thanks. Hi. I'd like to really thank the Big Bang team. It's been a real pleasure to work with the team this year, as in past years, and the Graduate School of Management for this opportunity. It's a real pleasure to help to run the Little Bang competition, which in a lot of ways is a precursor to the Big Bang competition, and to see how the two are becoming much more tightly integrated with every passing year. As Cassie said, I'm a director of business development and entrepreneurship within a group called UC Davis Innovation Access. The group focuses on technology transfer and commercialization, on building strategic research collaborations for the campus, and on supporting entrepreneurs and startup companies that are emerging out of the campus. A large part of that work in supporting entrepreneurship that we do is the Little Bang. The Little Bang is a poster competition in which graduate students in the sciences and in engineering bring the research that they're working on in their labs as part of their academic degrees and look at it from a commercial and a marketability and a market opportunity perspective, and compete on the basis of both the science concepts as well as the commercial potential and the effectiveness with which they've conveyed that. In this year's competition, we had 17 teams compete in 4 separate categories of clean energy and the environment, of foods for health and wellness, of computational science and nanotechnology, and of medical and biotech innovations. The winners that are shown up here were Simple Robot, ProGo, AESD, and Stroke Intervention Technologies. These winners and the runners-up that are shown here all advanced to the Big Bang through the semifinal round, and 4 of them advanced successfully enough to be among the 5 finalists here tonight, which gives me really great personal pleasure. The winning teams also received $3,000 in cash prizes, but I think the real benefit and the real bonus is the competition avenue through the Big Bang. The Little Bang is a collaborative effort with really wide support from across the campus, and I really want to acknowledge those folks who have been instrumental in helping Innovation Access run this competition over the years. Without these partnerships, the reach into the scientific community would not be nearly as robust and successful as it has come to be. And in addition, just as with Big Bang, Little Bang is also very thankful to the financial sponsors who provided the funding for the $3,000 cash prizes to the winners. So I just want to thank everybody who was instrumental in helping this competition be successful, and we look forward to doing it again next year. And congratulations to everybody from the Little Bang, including the folks particularly here again tonight. Thanks.
All right, we're finally to the most exciting part of the evening, the presentations. In your ballots, you will have a voting card. Now is your chance to act as venture capitalists. You all can decide which business plan you like the best and vote on that, vote for that team. We'll be collecting the ballots at the end of the presentations. If you can vote speedily and then send them to your nearest Big Bang Organizing Committee representative, we would appreciate that. Right, Our first team presenting tonight is Simple Robot.
Thanks. Good to go. Good evening. My name is Bill Allen. With me today is Alex Morris, and we're pretty excited to present to you the business plan, sort of the compressed version of it, for Simple Robot Incorporated. But before we get into that, I'm going to set the stage a little bit. A popular entrepreneur recently said that the robotics industry is emerging in the same way as the computer industry did 30 years ago. So Mr. Gates was pointing out the fact that the robotics industry right now is really in its infancy. So that's really exciting to us, not only because it validates our business model at Simple Robot, but also because when you consider that, combined with the fact that there's only one player in the market right now, that's iRobot, the makers of the little Roomba vacuum cleaner, we're really in a position to compete strongly. More about that later. For now, we're going to get started with an introduction of our management team. We're going to take a look at our launch product, which is a solar-powered pool cleaner. We're going to look at the marketing strategy and the financials of that. And then we're going to zoom out a bit and look at our overall company goals and where our trajectory is in the 5-10-year range. So our management team is composed currently of 5 people. Myself, Christopher, Anita, and Charnjeev compose the engineering core of the company. We're really experienced, have a lot of product development experience. Alex Morris will be heading up our finances, and we've recruited Mark Duvall, who comes from the energy industry. We think he's a strategic addition because we feel that in the coming years, the home robotics market is really going to be tied closely with the energy industry. So we feel that he's going to be able to guide us in the right direction. We're still looking for a CEO and marketing director, though we'll fill those positions until we find appropriate candidates. This is our launch product. It's called the Manta, and again, it's a robotic swimming pool cleaner. So there's a number of features from the exterior, like solar panel on the top surface so that it's self-powered. So this makes sense, right? Your pool's outside. The device can float on the surface of your pool, charge for about 3 to 4 hours. Then it submerges and cleans the walls of your pool intelligently. It has a standard particulate filter, has inductive motor-based propulsion. So the net effect here is that you sort of glide through the water to clean the surfaces of your pool. Our cleaning method is non-contact. It's all pressure-based. So it's extremely reliable, no parts to replace after time. Our design targets keep the packaging at a manageable size, keep the weight down, the standard filter like any other pool cleaner, and make sure that the charging time and cleaning time are reasonable. Now, it's important to point out the intellectual property. Our company has already obtained embedded operating system technology. We'll get into that in a minute, but we also intend to protect our design with algorithms through trade secrets. We're not going to be publishing these product-specific algorithms. And finally, we see branding as a strategy that will really tie the company together and attach consumers to us. Now, more about the first bullet point. Our existing IP centers around control systems. So what that means is at the center is an embedded operating system, which we've developed. It's ours, it's proprietary. We don't have to pay royalties for it, unlike most other consumer development companies. We also have a suite of libraries for motion control, battery management, energy modeling, high reliability. We're also experienced in high reliability design and the development of adaptive algorithms. So these are the core components of a robotic system, and we're good at it. The market opportunity that we see is really significant. For the pool cleaning industry, there's a distribution chain already in place. We don't have to have that overhead. On top of that, we're able to establish ourselves as a robotic company from the get-go. Other pool cleaning companies are just that, pool cleaning companies, not robotics companies. It's going to take a while for them to catch up. And finally, of course, everybody has pools not just in the United States, but internationally. And we want to take advantage of that. So keeping in focus with our customers, we do have surveys going on evaluating the demand for this product, but we're working under some assumptions, primarily that this product is going to have the same appeal as the Roomba. As a reference point, the Roomba has sold about 2 million units to date, and though our market size is about 1/10 of that, we still feel that sales and our margin make it a very desirable business case. Finally, when you use this product, you get to turn your pool pump down. That saves anywhere between $500 and $1,000 a year on your energy bill. The pool pump, it turns out, is one of the most inefficient and highest energy loads of a house. So again, the market need that we've gone over and the product that we've introduced to meet that market need. We've integrated key technologies, and that delivers some key benefits to the user. This is the customer focus of our product. Now, we needed to also find out where are the customers? How are we going to estimate this market size? Well, we looked at 10 key cities, some around us and some in the southern United States. But to start, let's take a look at Davis, California. So we went to satellite imagery for that. And here's a top view of Davis. And it turns out that you can sort of zoom in here and count pools. So we did that. And there are 1,604 of them in Davis. It's a very direct and accurate way of measuring your market. But now let's think a little bigger. We took a look at Phoenix, Arizona. So you can imagine there might be a few more pools in Phoenix. And this is just the lower part of Phoenix proper. And again, zooming in, you can see that there's significant potential for this product. I'll mention again that we did this for 10 key cities to estimate the market size. I'm now going to hand it over to Alex here, who's going to tell you what we did with that data.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, my name's Alex Morris. I'm the resident MBA on our team, and I'm going to take you on a journey down through some of the nitty-gritty details of our marketing and our finance plan. So, knowing the market was out there, we wanted to know what value customers would perceive in a product of this blend. And so, while our survey's in process and eventually we'll be able to get that data, what we did is we did some statistical work to back out what sort of value people's place on the number of features that are on a pool cleaner. And basically we came up with this curve, and if you see the green dot, you can see that the Manta as a product will fit right in line with the pricing structures of what people value for the number of products. So we knew we were on the right track there. And then we wanted to look at our competitors. Could we actually out-compete them? And there's two types of pool cleaners. And you probably know the one on the upper left. It's the standard pressure-driven pool cleaner that floats around like an octopus in the bottom of the pool and uses pressure to randomly clean the pool. And then along came these newer electric ones, and the electric ones were great because they didn't use the pool pump, so they were more energy efficient, but they also needed replacement parts because they go around and they brush along the bottom of the pool, and the brushes wear out. And so looking at some of the price points, we also looked at some of the amenities that came along with that. Some of the accessories were warranties and installation videos, remote controls in some cases, and then the hoses. And for the Manta, you really wouldn't need any of that stuff. For the Manta, you take it out of the box, you put it in the pool, and it goes to work, and the way it charges you. So you almost never have to replace parts, although we do want to have a warranty on it. And then we wanted to look at, okay, if the customers are going to buy it, how can we get it to them? And so we identified two key distribution channels and two key target markets. And first, we wanted to get your standard household pool cleaner, or the pool owner. And so for them, we're going to target the standard household pool owner through Leslie's Swimming Pool Supply Store. And if anybody owns a pool, they probably know about Leslie's. They have an aisle with 15 to 18 pool cleaners in the aisle and knowledgeable staff. And so it's an ideal place for us to partner and plug our product in. Secondly, they have some other solar-powered products there from OptiSolar, so it's a good partnership for us. And then lastly, they're sanctioned by all the swimming pool industries and associations, so we can work with them to get our product out there. And then the second group we wanted to target is the online group. And here we were looking for people who shop online or people who like to be early adopters of technology. And so we'll have a corporate store where you can purchase the product. Or if you go to some of the social sites, we hope that given the innovations we have on this product, there'll be some buzz about it, and that we'll get some good press on some of the tech enthusiast websites like Engadget.com or Slashdot.com. And so then we wanted to step back for a second and say, well, we've made quite a few assumptions. Let's make sure that we're on board in case we're wrong. And so we looked at some risk and how we could reduce risk. And we focused on the technological risk. And we know that with our engineering team and their experience putting products together and recombining different aspects of products to make them work, that we could get through that risk. And then looking at the business risk was a little tougher because over a 6-year timeline, how could we make sure that we were accounting for those risks? So what we did is first we really want to hire a marketer to go through and corroborate all of our assumptions and make sure everything's accurate. And then secondly, being a first mover, or in this case a second mover behind iRobot, we wanted to really build on strong branding. And so we want to have a sleek industrial design, and we'll get more into how we build our brand in a little while. And then after that, we wanted to do this thing called iterative prototyping, which saves a lot of money because every time you want to do something new, you can just add on a new feature, see if it works, and you don't have to do these big investments to create a whole new model. and then a high discount rate. And so how did that map out financially? Well, let's see. So here's our unit sales by year, and we grew our unit sales by targeting more and more cities around the US and internationally. And you can see we targeted the hot cities more than the colder cities. Okay, and we ended up with about 80 million sales per year in year 6. And given that targeting for one-tenth of the Roomba sales of 2 million is 200,000, so we think that's pretty reasonable. And then we looked at the financials, and what you can see is it boils down to revenues get up to 88 million by year 6, and the net income turns positive in year 2, and then is up to 38 million in year 2. And that gives you, with some of these ratios and these metrics, the valuation ended up being 73.2 million, with a return on investment of 14.3x, and there's some other measures up there as well. The payback period is 4.3 years. And so we're more than a company, but we're more than just a single product company. We're a robotics company, and just for the Manta, this is what the capital we're seeking. We'd like 3.1 million after some angel funding to help with the prototyping. And then in the second year, really ramp up production with an additional 3.9 million, and that leaves us cash positive between year 2 and year 3. And then we get 14.3 return on investment at the end of year 6. And so Bill's going to take you back through the big picture now about what are some other products we have in store for you.
Thanks, Alex. So like Alex said, we're going to zoom out for a second, and we're going to hurry up because I don't think we have much time left. But I want to recap our core competencies. So that centers around the existing IP, which we talked about earlier, our product design capabilities, the company's location, and the establishment of a competitive R&D team. So those last 2 blocks actually work together. The fact that we're on the West Coast means that we could take advantage of West Coast talent coming out of top universities. iRobot is on the East Coast, so they've kind of got the monopoly on the schools there, but we intend to leverage our location to recruit the best of the best robotics engineers. And again, branding is what ties our whole picture together and allows the customer to associate these features with us. Our market vision for not only the product but the company is that Simple Robot invents products that ease the menial tasks in life so that we can focus on the more meaningful ones. And this philosophy is really going to guide our strategy in the near term. So we find product opportunities, look at the target markets, whether there's existing demand, consider product packaging, whether it's reliable and safe, and whether we can push our own IP in it. And real quick, before we end, we have some avenues that we could consider. Yard debris is another area we can get into. Customers in the north need snow removed from their driveways. I don't like washing my windows. It would be great if the trash could take itself out. And other ideas. So we'd like to thank you for your time. I hope we've given a good picture of the company and where we're trying to go. And we'll hand it over. Thank you again.
I forgot to mention, the teams are under a time pressure. They have 12 minutes to present their whole business plan. So we do have a timer up here in the front giving them 5-minute and 1-minute warnings and a big X when they're done. Our next team is Advanced Energy Storage Devices.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity for being here. My name is Dave Walton, and I'm joined by Brett Kelly Crawford and Norman Lim, my teammates, and we're here to talk to you about advanced energy storage devices. Imagine for a second you're taking an important phone call, cell phone call, and as you're talking to this very important person, your battery dies. What happened? Well, when you bought the phone, the battery probably lasted a day or more. But now as time has gone on, it lasts a couple hours. And before you can use it again, of course, you got to plug it into the wall and charge it for a couple hours. It can be a big problem, especially when that starts to degrade. So imagine I could sell you a replacement for that battery that it would last just as long 5 years from now as it would today. And not only that, you could plug it into the wall and it would recharge in 30 seconds. Is that something you'd be interested in? I know I would. And that's what we're here to talk to you about tonight. So let's get more specific. What are the problems with batteries? So first of all, a lot of batteries are not very environmentally friendly. They have a lot of toxic material and heavy metals. At the very least, it's very costly to dispose of. It's not something we want to put more of in the environment. It's something we definitely want to put less of in the environment. Another problem is that batteries are not very good at charging or discharging very quickly, which means they can't provide a lot of burst power. So you can imagine an application like a diesel locomotive, if you can make out that picture right there. They have a big engine, takes a lot of power to start that, so you're going to have a huge bank of batteries to provide that 1 second burst of power to go charge it. It's not very efficient use of all that battery power. Another thing is the mobility. So we talked about the cell phone battery, but now imagine an electric car or a plug-in hybrid. You drive it to work, and you pretty much have to plug it in for 6 to 8 hours, and then you take it home and you plug it in for the same before it's ready to use again. Again, not very efficient, and doesn't really help your mobility much. And then there's other applications that batteries, as they go bad, require a lot of maintenance, especially for applications like telecom backup, where you absolutely need the power when the grid goes down. As the folks on the East Coast found out a few years ago, that became a big problem, and it's very costly to send someone out to go replace that. And then there's some applications that just, you can't replace them. You send a satellite up into space, and you're not going to send an astronaut to go change a battery. It has to last as long as the application does. So the problem is our opportunity, and our solution is carbon nanotube ultracapacitors, and we hope you're going to say that's the solution by the end of this presentation as well. They recharge 50 times faster than chemical batteries, so that's how you get that really quick charging. So I talked about the cell phone, but imagine an electric car now. You could go to effectively the same thing as a gas station, go plug in for 5 minutes, have your car recharged, and be on your way. That'd be a big advantage for mobility. Also, these devices are going to outlive the applications you put them in. So anyone who bought an iPod a few years ago when they were new knows about batteries wearing out and what a pain that is. Whatever devices these go in, that's not going to happen. Also, very high power density. That's the power delivery I talked about. So hundreds of pounds of batteries to start that diesel locomotive, or 12 D-size ultracapacitors. What would you put in your application? And then finally, it's a green technology. Carbon nanotubes are carbon, and the electrolyte material is an organic electrolyte, so there's no hazardous material, so nothing really to dispose of. So I want to walk you quickly through a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle application, and the ultracapacitor is in that orange exploding area there. And what are the real benefits that it adds to this application? So first, I already talked about how quickly you can charge these devices. That's a big benefit for anything like this. Literally, you can plug it in. You're limited by how much current you can pump through the wires, so it's a matter of minutes that you can pump this, not hours. And then acceleration. So anyone that has a hybrid today, if you're going up a hill or you need to get a fast burst of energy to get a quick acceleration, the gas motor has to come on and provide that burst power. Well, that's because batteries really can't deliver it. Ultracapacitors can, so you could utilize your very efficient electric motor to provide that same acceleration. And then another benefit is very efficient capturing energy. So regenerative braking, technology already exists today in hybrids. The ultracapacitor really makes that better, so you can utilize more of that mechanical energy when you need it later. In this particular application, the ultracapacitor is augmenting your main power source, which is your engine and your battery. That provides really your non-peak power demand. So when you're driving down the highway, it just provides the constant power that you're going to need. So this is a comparison of the existing energy storage technologies. And we have chemical batteries, which have been around forever. Everyone knows about them. There's some new batteries that are coming out now that are hybrid lithium-ion batteries. Some of you may be familiar with that. If you're not, don't worry about it. It's just an improvement over the same kind of technology. And then there's also ultracapacitors that exist today using older technology. Our technology, based on carbon nanotubes, basically provides the best of all worlds here. So best-in-class energy density, power densities, charge cycles, shelf life, charge time, safety, and no environmental hazard, like I said before. So what does our market look like going forward? So what's shown here is really a trajectory of where we see ultracapacitors fitting in to different market segments. And then overlaid on top of that is a cost structure coming down over time. So really the big part of our technology is those carbon nanotubes. And they're very expensive today, primarily because they're used in research applications. The primary user of carbon nanotubes are universities doing research today. So it's very expensive to make them because they're small batches. Now, over time, there's going to be economies of scale and economies of learning as there's more and more applications that use the benefits of carbon nanotubes. And we're going to capitalize that as we build our market strategy. But as of right now, we're targeting markets that really the customer pain is such that our devices are cost effective today, and as those cost structures of carbon nanotubes come down, we continue to get into different markets, ultimately into things like portable electronics, like I talked about in the beginning, where we'd be competing head to head with batteries, and those cost structures really have to come down for that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brett, who's going to take us through the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about competition. We drew a little graph for you here, and on the y-axis you can see power density, and on the x-axis you can see we have energy density. And we are the top right-hand corner here, where we have the significant oomph over everybody else in the power densities with that surge power like your gas pedal. And we still have a very competitive advantage over ultracaps today in electrolytic converters, and we compete very well with hybrid batteries and chemical batteries. Now, we can't trump the fuel cells because they have the ability to produce significant amounts of power per kilogram. So being the top right-hand corner is a good thing, so we'll move on. Okay, Dave touched on this briefly before. This is our go-to-market strategy, and we talked briefly about how carbon nanotubes are expensive today. So right now, we have to focus on markets where our product will meet the customer pain, but still be cost competitive, and that is the telecom backup market. We're going to be partnering with a fuel cell producer, and we'll be, talk a little bit about this maybe later, we'll be the interim power surge that is required when cell phone towers go out of power. There's a little bit of time there where we can provide an instant on before the fuel cells turn on and get going. Then a related market is the data storage backup. You can think of these large computer centers that have thousands of computers or workstations or servers. They all have to be backed up because everybody likes to have the internet on 100% of the time. So we'll merge into that, and as soon as the cost structures start to come down and we become a leader in our industry, we can start going into markets like hybrid vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and electric vehicles, where surge power is extremely important to get up those hills, to race in those races, and of course, having the charge cycles where the batteries don't go bad after 6 years and you have to spend $30,000 on your car again. Then of course, the military and the aerospace industry is something we also want to touch on because there's almost free money coming from the government. The government gives you SBIR funding to do these crazy things like carbon nanotubes. And we want to take advantage of some of those grants. And of course, when you go up into space, you're going to need virtually maintenance-free batteries to help power these satellites or probes or whatever you have going to Pluto. So this is our go-to-market strategy. Let's talk a little bit about our funding requirements and our milestones that we'd like to hit. Today's the Big Bang, and you'll see that up here on 5/7. That's a little off date, but that's okay. In a couple of months, we're hoping to work with our Georgia Tech partner, Judd Reedy. We'll talk a little bit about him later. He's our principal investigator, and we're going to try and get a lab prototype off the bench and be able to incorporate it into a valid application that will show everybody that, hey, this stuff really works. And of course, we're going to need a little bit of seed funding after that because we need to purchase or license the exclusive licensing of IP from Georgia Tech. It's not ours quite yet. Then in the next coming years, we're going to be building our momentum and getting into new markets. We're going to need more and more money. Big numbers coming in $2 million in 2009 and $3 million in 2010. And we hope to be financially even in 2010, which is very aggressive. We think we can get there. In sum, let's talk about why we're going to win into these markets. Right now, we have, like I said before, we have Judd Reedy. He's the world expert in CNT ultracap technology. We've captured him. He's agreed to be our chief technology officer, and he's an awesome guy, by the way. We also need an exclusive IP agreement with Georgia Tech. That means nobody else can license the intellectual property from Georgia Tech, giving us the competitive advantage that we need to succeed. We'd also like to be the Amazon.com of the CNT ultracap market as well. As you remember, Amazon was the first to market. They had a significant advantage over lots of other booksellers. Our current status, in closing, is we are negotiating with Georgia Tech to have an option to purchase or license the IP in the future. We'd like to buy a battery press for Judd Reedy, and we think they've agreed so far, so good, we're working the NDA right now, to offer that to us. Of course, we're working with Judd to get prototype off the bench and get it out into an application. And we have an awesome set of board of advisors, one of them who's here tonight. And he and Nick Pan, and let's see, where's Greg? Is he here? There he is, right back in the back. Greg's a great guy. He's agreed to be on our board of advisors. So in sum, I don't have Ryan Seacrest here tonight, but 1-800-555-IDLE2 says we're the second. So with that, we're real excited about our technology, and you can look for us in the Monday morning paper, ready to purchase those batteries for your cell phones. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next team is Membrex.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight, hear me talk, hear each other people talk. I'm Adrian Brozell. I'm the Chief Science Officer, Membrex. I represent 4 other people that have come together to solve a need in biological research. Okay, so for my talk tonight, I'm going to talk about the market need, the team that we've assembled, products that we're going to put together to address this problem, market size, and how we can market to these people. Then I'm going to talk about our financial projections and conclude with why we're better than the competitors. All right, so biological scientists must study cells. So if you see this white line around this cell, this represents the cell membrane. When viruses come in contact with the cell membrane, they stick to binding sites, and these are like glycolipids or glycoproteins. And when they bind, what they do is they actively recruit other binding sites to the same site as the virus and form pores in the membrane, and then the viruses insert themselves into the cell. And so this happens in big-ticket diseases like HIV. Scientists also must study membrane proteins because they regulate the uptake of cells. In an example here, this is diabetes, where the insulin receptor binds insulin and then regulates the glucose receptor. And so this is involved in big ticket diseases like heart disease and diabetes. The problem with these things, and studying these things, is it takes a very long time. People dedicate entire careers to studying a single protein. And as you can see in this cartoon, it's a whole organization of proteins and systems that you have to understand to get the whole big picture of how this disease works. So Membrex has decided we're going to address that problem. So we assembled a team. 5 members, myself, a scientist, Kevin Chartrand, a business guy who's done some business development, and 3 people in the middle, Bhavik Sani, Christina Chan, Dev, and Shay, who all have a little bit of technical experience and a little bit of business experience. Plus, we have some scientific collaborators here on campus, David Horsley, Kit Lamb, and Tul Parikh, doing nanofabrication, building our compound libraries, and studying the membranes and how they work. And we have some industrial scientific collaborators, Sunita Dixit at Stanford Research Institute, and Chanel Yi at Amgen. So our solution to this problem is high-throughput combinatorial screening in vitro. And so that sounds really complicated, but all it means is we're going to do all the experiments everybody was already doing on a chip at once. It's going to take 10 years, and we're not going to chop it down to one experiment initially, but we're hoping eventually to get there. But the thing that we are going to be able to do is when people study these lipid membrane dynamics, which are responsible for viral infection in cells, we're going to be able to take that from 3 years, people's PhD work, to 3 hours, so one experiment. And then we're going to be able to take the number of screens that you need to do to understand the binding rates of drugs and membrane proteins from 65 screens to one single screen. And so the other nice thing about an in vitro system is it's out of the body, it has the components that you'd like, it doesn't have everything, and so you're able to get control over those experiments. You're able to control pH, heat, calcium levels, insulin levels, glucose levels, all of these things to really get a more detailed understanding of these processes. You're also able to take your single cell that you do one experiment on, and you're able to dice that up into multiple experiments so that you get an added benefit and added value for each cell that you use. All right, so to do this, what we decided is we designed a membrane depositing device. So this is our first product. And so it's similar to this in vivo system here, or will be similar to this in vivo system seen here, but it's basically just going to prepare your samples. It's going to deposit your membranes on your chip in these high-density arrays. It's going to cost about $100,000, which is about what a typical piece of lab equipment costs, and our margin is going to be 80%. Our second patent-protected IP is our membrane array, a chip. So this is an actual chip where the business is done on 160,000 experiments on one 2.5 centimeter by 2.5 centimeter chip, which is that big. Okay? And this is an actual image of one of these arrays from the lab. So this is something that we already have developed, that we already do on a daily basis, that we train new graduate students to do regularly. So this is patent protected. We're going to sell it in packs of 10. It's going to be $500 for this pack. These things are all disposable, so this is a reuse charge, a razor blade, if you will. And our margin is going to be 95%. And since this is basically glass, a little bit of chemistry, and a little bit of plastic, we probably can push that even higher. So to market this better, what we did was we said, who is this customer that's going to buy this? And so our first customer that we're going to target is the lipid chemist. And so the lipid chemist wants to understand the phase behavior of the membrane, to understand how viruses interact with the cells and then are able to go into them to deliver their RNA or DNA to infect people. All right, so on campus alone, there are 4 labs that do this type of research, as well as departments of biomedical engineering, which get together and buy large pieces of equipment to use as user facilities for labs that can't afford to purchase the individual equipment. So these people are prime targets to market our device for. And what is our offer? What's our value proposition to these people? Well, we're going to take this 3 years of experiments to 3 hours, one experiment. And so how are we going to market to them? We're going to call them up directly. We're going to have presence at key meetings, Material Research Society, American Chemical Society, Biophysical Society, as well as doing seminars at universities displaying the technology and the things that we can do with our technology that couldn't be done by a single man in a single lab doing single experiments. And so to prove to you that this is legit, we have this work by other people. So this work by other people was published at the end of 2002, and also there's a companion paper that was published at the beginning of 2003, is just this. It's the membrane phase diagram. And so it's 3 lipid components, and they're mixed together, and they study how they interact with each other on a substrate. And so this work is a cornerstone work in this idea that lipid dynamics actively interact with viruses as they infect cells, and that these dynamics are important. And to sort of quantify how important this study is, this is work that's 5 years old, or barely 5 years old, and it's already been cited over 250 times. So our second customer is a drug lead developer. This person is looking at the binding rates of their drug they developed to membrane proteins. And so who are they? They're 4,000 to 7,000 small pharma companies. The nice thing about this marketing is that big pharma is no longer doing drug development. They're pushing all the responsibility and associated risk on the small pharma, so it's a growing market. So what they want to do is they want to measure these binding coefficients more accurately, more precisely, so that when they sell their drugs to big pharma, they have an added value to their product. All right, what we offer them directly is one screen to do their previous 65 screens. And again, we're going to be directly marketing to them. We're going to have presence at the conferences of the diseases that they affect, heart disease, diabetes, and then we're also going to do seminars at universities talking about how the technology is able to advance the field. So the market size is about 6,000 companies, give or take, or 4,000 companies, 2,000 public labs. It has a value to membranes of $688 million. It's divided 2/3 in the private sector, 1/3 in the public sector. Revenue stream will be generated by selling robots and these membrane kits. We're going to sell a modest number of 5 in the first year, 15 in the second year, 30 in the third year, and so on and so forth until we have about 3% market penetration by the 5th year. Somebody asked earlier today why so conservative with the numbers. The nice thing about this is it's going to take a second to convince scientists that this is real and we're able to do this jump. But once we convince them by producing data, they'll jump on board. And like I said, this is something that we already do in the lab, so just a matter of time. So that gives us our 5-year pro forma. You'll notice by year 2, we're cash flow positive. By year 5, we have a 7.2 return on investment. We have $17.6 million in revenue, and that's a 40% profit margin. Our funding sources. We're going to need $1 million over the first 2 years. We're going to get the majority of that through SBIR and STTR grants, which we're eligible for because we're a tech transfer from the UC Davis campus. We're going to need another $400,000 worth of seed money, which my parents are going to pay for. And then that's why they're here. They have to know that it's official. Anyway, so now we're going to break it. So these costs are predominantly capital equipment in the first year and then personnel in the subsequent years. And then the facility costs and associated costs with operation of a lab are modeled off of what you pay here on campus at Davis. So what's our competitive advantage over the existing automation technologies? Because they do exist, and they're widespread throughout Amgen. If you go in there, you can see them. And so they're primarily built by Beckman Coulter, Tecan, Molecular Devices. And what they do is they've automated the in vivo experiment that people have been doing since the turn of the century. What Membrex has done is we've taken it a step further and gone to the in vitro system. And the problem with the in vivo system is it's great if you're a thinking person and a scientist and can look at all the different angles of the experiment and really sit there and postulate what happened, why it's going on, tweak all the different knobs. That's going to take you 10 years. If you want a robot to do it, you got to go in vitro because you have to simplify it. So the robot can say yes, no, or for some reason this experiment failed. And so that's really our advantage. We're protecting this through intellectual property and industrial secrets, our years of experience of working in the lab. We have first mover advantage because we're going to be able to have the product out within a year, and already none of these products exist on the market, so we're pretty confident that we can get that. And then we also have a professional network of collaborators at Davis, Berkeley, Stanford, Los Alamos, Livermore, Indiana, all of which would be interested in such a product. And we have a nice quote from Alan Zmudas here that says, "This product would allow us to assay a large parameter space in a short amount of time, enabling us to spend effort and resources on higher level inquiries." So it's pretty nice. We also have advantage over competing technologies. There's competing technologies like X-ray crystallography, transmission electron microscopy, and computer simulations. Computer simulations have yet to be developed all the way. They're still in their infancy. Transmission electron microscopy cannot look at membranes, and you can measure binding constants with X-ray crystallography. So using our technique, we can answer both of these things very directly and in a way that's scientifically meaningful. So to conclude, Membrex's whole business is to decrease the time it takes to study membrane and membrane proteins for these critical diseases like heart disease, diabetes, HIV. We do this through in vitro high-throughput screening. That's our competitive advantage. And we'll be cash flow positive by year 2. By year 5, we'll earn $17.6 million in revenue, which is a 40% profit margin, 7.2 times return on investment. Now I got one more slide. And this slide is to sort of be a little bit more exciting. So in the future, what could happen is that proteins in your body establish electrochemical gradients all the time to do multiple things. Like, for example, to see. A photon hits your eye, or light hits your eye, to simplify for this one. Sorry to insult you. Sorry, I understand. People might understand what a photon is, but I want to make sure everybody knows a photon is light. Okay. So what this protein does is it takes this positive charge and it pushes it over here, where there's a bunch of positive charge. And so I don't know if you guys remember entropy, you probably don't, but this is supposed to be a mix of charge. But if you have a bunch of positive charge here, no charge here, you have a voltage. And so Membrex technology could ultimately be used in alternative fuel cell applications. And so there's a whole array of technologies that this could be developed for after we target this market segment that we can very quickly, very easily address. I'd like to thank you for your time, thank my parents, and
Halfway through. Our next presentation is AID Networks.
Hi, I'm Danielle Sheehan, and I'm from AID Networks. And we have a wide array of team members from all across the country. So before I get started, I'm going to tell you a story of Frank. Frank, he entered into the hospital for a normal procedure, which was a total knee replacement. And this, when he enters, this should be a 5-day procedure. And the nurse comes around and she checks on him every 4 hours. And she comes with her paper and her pencil and she's seeing how well he's doing. Now he's left, and during this time when he's there, in those 4 hours, he has an adverse event. During this time, he has a cardiac arrest leading to a heart attack that the nurse is unaware of because she is gone for the first 4 hours during this time. Because she is not around to see this, his stay is increased to 20 days. So he is now, instead of 5 days at the hospital, he's now there for 20 days. This is due to 2 problems, and this is going to cause 2 problems. This is going to cause a capacity problem and a patient safety problem. The capacity problem is that now it's understaffed. there's a lack of nurses by 20%. So there's not enough people to be taking care of all the patients that are at this hospital. Also, the nurses are feeling overwhelmed. By having so few nurses, then they are having a problem of getting to every single patient in time. Right now, the ER waiting time is 3.5 hours to get in and get a bed. So by having to stay there for another 20 days, we're increasing that time that's in the ER. Another problem now is the patient safety problem. Right now, there are several adverse events. In an 800-bed hospital at Johns Hopkins, there are 300 adverse events that occur, or unwitnessed events, and only 1% of those are fatal. And this is due to it being unmonitored. So, what is our solution? Our solution is to have a monitor that we'll be able to track the patients, that they can wear on their wrist or around their neck, and we'll be able to measure their vital signs, and we'll automatically send it to a system where the nurses can see what's going on with all of the different patients. So let's bring it back to what background we've done. We've been able to check with, we did an experiment with the Homeland Security, and we were able to take them and we split up patients. And so we had 20 people that ended up using our device and 20 people that we were using the clipboard and the pen for. And what we noticed was after going through and running through an emergency procedure that we were able to speed up the monitoring or increase the patient procedure by 3 times the amount. So we would be able to get 3 times the amount of patients through using our monitoring device. So let's go back to Frank. So Frank, he's in the hospital, and he's in the hospital now for 20 days. Now, if Frank was able to have our device, we'd be able to admit 3 more patients. Now, instead of having Frank take the bed for the 20 days, we're able to put 4 patients into it and decrease that ER wait time. In a 400-bed hospital, there's 7.5% of those that are affected by adverse events. Of those 7.5%, 28% of those are preventable if they were monitored correctly. So by reducing by 15 days, we're able to admit 2,000 new patients, thus increasing the hospital revenue by $4 million. Our competitors are Philips, GE, and Spacelabs. We have 2 competitive advantages over them: price and alarms. For price, you can see that their price is $120,000 compared to our price of $16,000. Our wireless technology has allowed us to bring down the price significantly of this monitoring service. Also, another problem is the alarms. So, a problem right now what they have with the alarms is there's constant beeping. And a lot of people think it's normal to be hearing these beeps that are going throughout the hospital. But this is actually an alarm alerting the nurses. And because it's set to a common standard for all the patients, the nurses start to tune them out, because for sometimes it's not actually affecting the patients, and there's just so many going off that the nurses have tuned them out and now are no longer reacting when it actually might be vital. So our service is actually going to be programmed directly to what the patient needs and be able to be pinpointed to where the patient needs to be and what the limits are for that particular patient. So when the beep does go off, the nurse knows that she should be there and she needs to take action. So here is a total, the total triangle is the amount of who is part of the hospital and who needs monitoring. And as you can see, the green box is the part that we are targeting. So at the top, it's the people that are in most critical care, and we're targeting a lower medium acuity section. So Mark Smith, director of ER1 Institute, said, "You have a product that solves the problem every hospital in America is looking for. This problem is because this is reducing the time that patients are in the hospital, and we are able to give patients the advantage they need to make sure that the nurses are going to find them when they're going through these adverse events." We've been doing trials at Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and Washington Hospital Center, and we've been on CNN and ABC to present our our technology and try to get it out there. So far what we've done today is we've done 2 clinical studies. We've created a working prototype, and it's functional and running. And we have patents filed on our technologies for the networks and algorithms that were going to be used in the monitoring service. Also, we have a market-ready device. We're working on the market-ready device and the FDA clearances. And then we will be doing a market launch and putting it out in the market. So our service is not only good for what the people or the patients will be using, but it's also good for investors. Due to the work that we've done thus far, we'll be experiencing revenues in 2008. And then due to our revenues with a 90% yield due to it being software-based, we should experience revenue in mid-2010. Then, by year 2014, we should be able to exit through an acquisition. Medical device companies are normally acquired, and that's the way they're exiting. They exit through 7 times their sales revenue. So that means by 2014, when we plan to exit, Aid Networks will be able to give 20 times their return to their investors. So we have a team that's comprised of engineers, MBAs, professors, and doctors. This multidisciplinary team is essential for tackling our problems. And we're also given excellent clinical support through critical care physicians at Johns Hopkins and Harvard. So now that we have our clinical partners on board and we have our technology, now we want to be part of the mission that saves lives. And we're able to make turn $6 million into $160 million. Thank you very much.
All right, our last team to present is stroke interventions.
Hi. Okay, so this is Paul, and I'm Geraldine, and we're going to be talking to you about stroke intervention technologies. And what we do is we make stents for stroke. I apologize, we're going to be talking kind of fast because we have a lot of things to cover, but hopefully you guys will understand everything. So our mission statement, Stroke Intervention Technology, it's an early stage medical device company, and what we develop are novel devices to treat clogged arteries in areas of the bodies where we have no efficient treatment right now. So we bring together a whole bunch of things. We bring together cutting edge biomedical engineering with novel materials, biophotonics, leading minimally invasive techniques in surgery, and translational research from UCD Medical Center, Lawrence Livermore National Lab, and the Center for Biophotonics and Science Technology in Davis. So the need. Stroke happens 2 ways. So you have hemorrhagic strokes where there's bleeding in the brain, and there's ischemic strokes where you have basically a clogged artery, and that's what we're going to be talking about, ischemic strokes. So there's a clogged artery here, and the tissue downstream just dies. So how do we treat this? The current treatment is RTPA, which is a good drug. It works really well. Unfortunately, it has to be given within 3 hours of the onset of symptoms. Most people, however, do not present to the emergency room within 3 hours. They usually present within 24 hours, so it's too late. Next drug in line is blood thinners, and there's really no good evidence that it actually does anything. So a couple numbers. Stroke is the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States. About 5.5 million living Americans have suffered a stroke. It's about 700,000 annually, and 200,000 of these are recurrent. Maybe more importantly, stroke is actually the leading cause of long-term disability in the United States. About 90% of afflicted people have disability ranging from mild to very severe symptoms that they carry for the rest of their life. So this cost to the healthcare system is about $37 billion, and it's about $21 billion in productivity loss from these people. So what we wanted to do here is make a parallel between stroke and heart attacks, because heart attacks are well known to people now. Heart attacks are treated by blood thinners and open heart surgery, but maybe more importantly now, stenting. Stenting is done every day in the labs. And the interesting thing about heart attacks is that now they can be prevented by using these stents. So this is what we call the heart attack solution. The number of stents sold in the US in 1993 was about 0, and the number of stents used in 2006 was about 1.5 million. So there's a parallel here, it's pretty obvious, and we're thinking that we can prevent stroke with our device in much the same way that heart attacks can be prevented right now. So if we anticipate 0 stents for strokes in 2006 and a lot probably in 2019, 13 years from now. Okay, so clogging of the arteries can happen 2 ways. One way is by growing of plaque made of cholesterol and all this nasty stuff that we eat here. The other way is by an embolus, which is a blood clot coming from somewhere else, comes into the artery and clogs it. 2 separate mechanisms, same endpoint, ischemia, loss of blood loss in the brain. So these devices, these stents and angioplasty balloons have been used for a while now. They're inserted through a catheter through a small incision in the groin area, and they're brought up to the lesion site. It's minimally invasive surgery. The problem with brain arteries is that they're a little bit different than other arteries in the brain. So first of all, the path is very tortuous, a lot more tortuous than other arteries. Say I want to go up here to a lesion up here. I'm going to have to travel with my device all the way here through this very tortuous path, and it's very difficult to go through this with current devices. The other thing is that they're much smaller arteries, and they're a lot more delicate. They just blow up very easily. So we think that prevention can happen, and it will. It will take a little bit of time. There's usually, right now there's no treatment. It'll take some education from our part to patients and to physicians who are putting these things in. We're very lucky in that there's an identified population who's at risk. It's the population, the diabetics, people with a history of heart disease, coronary heart disease, people who've had plaques in their heart. There's evidence that they also have plaque in their brain. Finally, current diagnostic modalities are available, so you can look at these people's brain and find out where the stenosis, where the disease is, and place these vessels, these stents appropriately. Okay, so our product. It's a shape memory polymer stent. It's a new type of material with a shape memory. So you can make this material into a primary shape here, which is our final shape that we're going to put into the brain. You can then laser etch it and impart like a different mesh into it. You can heat it up and crimp it to a smaller shape. So you obtain a much smaller device. This you can introduce into the artery. You can navigate. It's very flexible. You can get to your target site and open it up. It's flexible. It's laser expendable. That's how we open it up in the artery. So placed on a delivery device here, this is our stent that we've pushed through all the way to the lesion site. The nasty plaque is right there. You turn the laser on, heats up the device opens up the clogged artery. Turn the laser off, withdraw your device, and your stent is left there in place. So there's heating effects. They're, however, well controlled because we're using pinpoint laser light, and there's minimal effect to the surrounding tissue. So I'll let Paul finish for the rest.
So how does our product stack up against competitive offerings out there? Well, in terms of substitutes and alternatives, Geraldine already talked about drug therapy through RTPA. Now, that's a very effective treatment. However, the outcome ends up being not so good because treatment is usually too late. People usually don't show up at the hospital until 24 hours after they start having symptoms. There's angioplasty, but that's been done in a very limited number of cases, and so the results are ambiguous. There's surgical revascularization, which is basically open brain surgery, which is incredibly a very risky operation, and so it's rarely used. So our competitive advantages against other stents. Other stents are made of metallic stents. Well, first of all, size. We believe we can go into and manufacture this in a smaller diameter to get to those brain arteries that are at the smaller diameter. Metallic stents are limited here. In terms of flexibility that Geraldine talked about earlier, polymers are way more flexible, so they're going to be able to withstand, for example, fatigue damage or crushing, which occur in metal stents. Metal stents do fail. There's this thing called restenosis, which is reclogging of the arteries once you put the device in there. A lot of that will be caused by the mismatch between the metal and the artery. The materials don't match the artery movement very well. Ours does, and so we believe restenosis will be less. Manufacturing is a polymer, it's a plastic, so manufacturing will be generally easier versus machining. Metals need to be machined, meshes need to be woven and made. Drug elution is the latest thing in stent technology. Well, you can imagine that metallic stents really don't absorb drugs. They actually need to be coated with something, and they're actually coated with a polymer, which is very similar to the polymer we use. So we'll have an advantage here too because our drug carrier potential will be much higher. So basically our product features is the flexibility and the drug carrier potential, and the product benefits are that it's going to lead to easier implementation and basically longer lifetime. So what is the market potential? So we looked at the market, and as far as the number of strokes that occur, there's about 600,000 strokes that occur. We figured about half of those people could use a stent, and with that reimbursement rate, we figure a $1.7 billion market in the US. Double that basically to get the rest of the world market. Now, stents can be applied in a variety of other places. Why do we choose the intracranial market? Because you might say, hey, the coronary market's huge. Well, it is huge. It's basically $6 billion in terms of market size for the coronary market. We've calculated the intracranial market to be about half that. And then the other peripheral arteries are a fraction of that. Well, the other thing you have to consider are the number of companies that are in there. So basically, the coronary market has the biggest companies and the most companies there. And we're talking companies like Boston Scientific, Abbott, companies, multi-billion-dollar companies with a lot of resources. So you notice in the intracranial space, there's fewer companies. So specifically, we got Boston Scientific and Abbott, for example. You can see that in the coronary stent marketplace, you've got a lot of products there. And these are 5th and 6th generation products that are up to drug-eluting stents, which evolved from stainless steel stents, went through a couple different alloys, and now they're at this stage right now. Boston Scientific does have one product here that is comparable to ours, but you notice Abbott has none. All right, so this is good news for us. A lot of these companies have a lot of money, so they have clinical trial pipelines where basically they're expanding their indications for their devices. They also have billions of dollars to spend on R&D for new products. So what they also do to acquire new technologies is buy companies. And so you can see here they pay millions of dollars for that, which actually would be good for us if we can get into a similar situation. So that's why we're going after the intracranial market. All right, so just a timeline. This is typical of a medical device company. I'm going to rush through here because I have 2 minutes left. And basically, what we've done so far is in vitro testing, mainly through Geraldine's thesis at Lawrence Livermore. She's done these sorts of things to basically make a prototype stent and delivery system. We've done some animal studies, biocompatibility, and we're about to implant these in swine. I should say, people associated with this product are about to implant this in swine. So clinical trials, typical of a medical device company. Europe first, US next, very costly. All right, and then expand the indications for your product and have other product offerings. So how does this dovetail into our sales and distribution? We need to license. There's one key patent at Lawrence Livermore that we need to license for the laser catheter activation system. We have 2 inventors on our advisory board, which will make it much easier to license, as well as an IP licensing expert on our advisory team. So reimbursement is a very important process for medical device companies, and there's some risk there that you might not get enough money for your product. Well, there's some factors in our favor, basically the $58 billion hit to society. And there's been some indication that Medicare and Medi-Cal are wanting to increase reimbursement. Okay, and then finally, European sales. Our strategy there is to co-market the device through distributors, representatives, sales representatives, and corporations with sales divisions. And then US will basically build a direct sales force targeting interventional neuroradiologists and neurosurgeons who are the physicians that will be implanting this device. Okay, so our business model is a typical medical device company. We'll have distributors, a direct sales force. We'll look for partnerships. And there's some risk that I also mentioned a little bit. And our management team is composed of basically a lot of people associated with UC Davis. We've got a chief operating officer with a lot of experience and other people with experience in the areas of finance, sales and marketing, and business as well. We have a clinical advisory board team that spans the range as well, from physicians to industry experts to a scientific advisory board made of the leading researchers in biomedical devices in the region, also Geraldine's thesis advisors. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed our presentation.
One of Big Bang's goals is to benefit not only the UC Davis community, but also businesses, corporations, and venture capitalists in the region. As I mentioned earlier, without the ongoing support of our long-term sponsors and continued infusion of new donors, this event would not be possible. I'd like at this time to introduce Kevin Coyle of DLA Piper. Kevin's a longtime sponsor and friend of the Big Bang competition to speak on Big Bang's contribution to the community and how to get involved.
Great, thanks very much. Yeah, when Cassie said that the presentations were the most exciting part of the evening, I was a little offended. I thought it was right after the intermission. My name is Kevin Coyle, and I'm with the LA Piper, and I am honored to be a sponsor of this organization. We have been a sponsor for each of the last 7 years, way back when we started this thing out of somebody's garage. Not quite that bad, but we're, just to give you a brief introduction, we're a law firm, an international law firm with a small office here in Sacramento, and our primary focus is representing startup companies. Some of the companies we've worked with that have been in the news recently are Sierra Logic, CoreLogic, Hanson Information, Meridian Project Systems, and many others. Our goal is to work with startup companies from the very beginning and help lend our expertise to help them with venture capital funding, intellectual property, and all the other needs of startups. So if you're in need of an attorney and would like to talk, please look me up. Know any good lawyer jokes? I do know a venture capital joke. Now, some of you may have heard this before, but a venture capitalist decides one day to go to confession. Okay, that's not the joke. All right, so he goes to the confessional booth, and the priest says, tell me what you've done. And the VC says, well, I had improper relations with one of the female parishioners. And the priest says, oh my God, it wasn't Mary Mulligan, was it? And he says, no, it wasn't Mary Mulligan. The priest says, okay. Was it Maureen McDougal by chance? He says, no, not Maureen McDougal. He says, oh, don't tell me. It wasn't Margaret Malarkey, was it? He says, no, not Margaret Malarkey either. The priest says, okay, I absolve you from your sins, and your penance is to say 10 Hail Marys. The VC goes back to the pew and kneels down, and the guy next to him says, hey, how'd you do? VC says, not too bad. 10 Hail Marys and 3 hot leads. So Cassie asked me to speak a little bit about community impact and kind of what you can do to help. And I have to say, as before, I've been honored to be a sponsor of this organization. You know, we give a little bit of money each year, but more than that, it's being part of this. This organization has been terrific for us. As I said, we were there from the very beginning. Casey Canan from Intel came and decided he wanted to, or was with the idea of starting a business plan competition here. And I must admit, my first reaction was, well, gee, isn't there already one? And he said no, and we kind of got this thing started. And it was a student-run organization from the beginning. The GSM gave it support from the beginning, but with a clear indication that it needed to be student-run. And for a couple of years, it was touch and go there. There was one year where we actually had to delay the picking the finalists because we didn't have enough business plans. We went out and got some more. And for a couple of years there, some of the finalists had only the most tenuous relationship to UC Davis. I think a couple of them actually hired some graduate students just for the purpose of joining the competition. But it's remarkable how well this competition has gone in the intervening years. We've gradually moved towards a much more UC Davis-focused approach to almost all of the teams. UC Davis technology, UC Davis students, a much bigger connection to the community. UC Davis has become, in part because of this and in part because some of the other things that Meg and other people have done, has really become part of the culture of entrepreneurship in this area. And for that reason, has had a tremendous impact on the community, and I think it's only going to grow. I can't even imagine the last time the UC Davis Big Bang competition got an article in the Sacramento Bee. If that isn't some indication of how we're impacting the community, I don't know what is. Of course, the biggest impact that the business plan competition can have on the community is to develop good, solid companies that are UC Davis connected companies that are out there working hard, developing businesses, getting funded. I'm here to tell you that my experience has been, it doesn't matter whether you win this competition or whether you come in second or even a finalist in terms of whether you get funded. There are plenty of companies here that didn't win that got funded. There are some companies here that won and for whatever reason never got funded. So there's a lot more to it than just a business plan competition, but it certainly is great to see the community-wide, UC Davis-wide support of the business plan competition now. We've got engineering students, and we've got the science schools, we've got Innovation Access, we've got the Center for Entrepreneurship. The continued support of Graduate School of Management has all been terrific. I mean, think about it. In the future, you could be a cell membrane researcher. And you could have so much free time because you've now taken 3 years of work into 3 hours that you can spend most of the day swimming in your swimming pool, which is nice and clean because of this great robotic sweeper. And one day you're in your pool and you're riding the sweeper around the pool. That should be your next project. And you accidentally crash your head into the side of the pool. You need to go to the emergency room. So you get into your electric car, which you know is going to be fully powered up because it's powered by carbon nano capacitors, ultra capacitors. It zips you to the emergency room. You get in, you get treated, and oh no, you have an adverse event. But of course, you're fully hooked up with AID. The next thing you know, the nurse is there, they zap a stent into your brain, you're good to go, and you're back on the job the next day. So just in closing, I just want to thank a couple people. Doctors Hargadon and Dorf from the Graduate School of Management have been instrumental recently in helping to foster the relationship with the science schools. And of course, Dean Biggert for her continuing and wholehearted support of this program has been terrific. I also want to take an opportunity to thank the judges. A number of us spent the afternoon here judging these great businesses. And while it's a labor of love and it's a lot of fun, it's a big time commitment, and you know the venture capitalists and the others are very, very busy people, and I really want to thank them for taking the time out of their day to come and do this. Did a terrific job. In particular, I'd like to single out two people. I don't know if they're here anymore, but both Roger Akers and Scott Lynette, who have been here year after year, are absolutely just relentless in their support of entrepreneurship in the Sacramento area. So I'd like to give the judges who are here a hand. And finally, thanks again to the students. They've been thanked before, but they need to be thanked again. Grant, Kevin, and Cassie, and I look forward to working with you and seeing you all here next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. So we're to the awards part. I want to bring some of my other Big Bang Organizing Committee members up here with me. They worked really hard this year. They worked really hard, and that's all. And I think they deserve a hand as well. This is just a small sampling of the organizing committee. We have a lot of second years that aren't up here, and that contributed a lot and helped to get us some money last summer to fund this year's competition. So we thank them. But on to our first award of the evening, which is the People's Choice Award. This is the award that you voted as the best business. And the award goes to Membrex.
Opportunity?
Yes, go. You want 30 seconds.
I'd like to thank everybody that came out to support me, friends, family, people on Evite, people I met through MySpace, Facebook, etc. You all mean a lot to me. I love you all. Thank you so much for coming. It was great. Go Membrex.
The teams presented this afternoon to judges behind closed doors. So all the official, not that you, the audience, the People's Choice isn't official, but all the official judging took place this afternoon. The second place winner is Simple Robot.
Thanks, everybody, and especially Big Bang and Little Bang. They provided an infrastructure here that's been invaluable to me and all of our team members. We really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks again.
All right, and the grand prize winner of the first place of the 7th annual Big Bang Business Plan Competition goes to Aid Networks.
Thank you very much. My team members in the middle of this had to end up going to the airport to get to the East Coast, and they extremely apologize, and they wish they could have been here. But thank you very much for staying around and listening to our presentation. We appreciate it. Thank you.
The Big Bang Organizing Committee would again like to thank the volunteers from the community who donated their time to help judge the competition. UC Davis Innovation Access and Meg Arnold. And also we would like to recognize the value support provided by the hosts of the Graduate School of Management and the recently launched UC Davis Center for Entrepreneurship. And last but not least, the sponsors, through which this competition would not be possible. We ask that you continue to support the Big Bang in whatever way you can, whether that be monetarily or through your time. Thank you for coming.